Let's discuss all this with civil rights attorney Cornell William Brooks and also retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. Thanks to both of you for being here. Sergeant Dorsey, let me start with you. There's been a lot of discussion about whether this was just one, now former police officer on trial, or policing in general on trial. What do you hope to see come out of this investigation by the Justice Department?
Well, this was certainly one officer on trial, but we know that policing in general is problematic. And listen, I'm appreciative of the fact that the DOJ is looking into the Minneapolis Police Department. They're not unique in their problems. I mean, here you have Derek Chauvin with 22 personnel complaints, and he was only disciplined once. How does that happen? There's a Derek Chauvin, at least one on every department across these 18,000. And while I like to believe that they are the few, they're in the minority, it's still far too many. And so I think they have a problem yet on their hands in Minneapolis because, listen, not only is he a convicted murderer, but he is also a proven and demonstrated liar. Everything he said to the field sergeant about what went on was not true. And so the question that begs to be answered is, after 19 years on patrol, having arrested Black folks, assaulted Black folks, charged them with probably interfering, obstructing justice, only to be dismissed by the DA. Are there folks serving time right now, suffering financial burdens because of the liar, convicted murderer that is Derek Chauvin?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cornell, the House version of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act would create a national registry of police misconduct. It would ban racial and religious profiling by officers. It would ban chokeholds, among other matters. Do you have faith, do you believe that this trial, this verdict, will spur political leaders in Washington and in state capitals around the country to actually deliver on policing and criminal justice reform?
I do. And the reason I so believe is not because of the magnanimity and the innate goodness of police departments or the innate wisdom of Congress. But rather, when you look at those 12 jurors, there was not one member of the House of Representatives, not one member of the Senate among those jurors. The jurors in Minneapolis, and in so speaking, they have shifted the burden of responsibility to the United States Congress to act on this George Floyd Act. The point being here is this is not a problem that we can prosecute officer by officer. As my colleague mentioned, that there are 18,000 police departments, over 19,000 jurisdictions in this country. We need federal leadership and federal legislation. It is critically important for Congress to speak. It's also critically important for the Department of Justice to speak through these pattern and practice investigations and consent decrees. In other words, when you talk to police chiefs, the most responsible say it is a good thing when the Department of Justice essentially provides them with the reason and the incentive to do the right thing. And by DOJ doing that and Congress also creating the legal mechanism by which to have better, more effective constitutional and moral policing of the American public is made better.
Sergeant Dorsey, let's talk for a second about the use of lethal force. Because you heard one of the cousins of George Floyd talk about that earlier in the show. The idea that most officers are there to try to do a good job, try to protect us, try to keep communities safe. But there is a question about whether or not in our society lethal force is used too often. And I think you can see all sorts of examples, whether it's Eric Garner selling Lucy's or the George Floyd case. Remember, his original crime, alleged crime, was a $20 bill, a counterfeit $20 bill. As a former officer, are your fellow officers told too often to use lethal force?
It's not something that is formally taught, but I think it's an attitude that officers develop over time. And when you allow them to go unchecked, when you see officers on a traffic stop and they're pulling out their weapon to intimidate someone because they're not behaving properly or they're not following an order, and that goes unchecked, if you don't do anything disciplinarian-wise to deter that bad behavior, then how do you stop officers from doing that? We saw just not too long ago in Virginia where a police officer pulled his gun out first and then a taser, then maced a veteran. Why? Because he couldn't see his license plate on his car. How many times has that happened? We see it time and time again, and it's not until it ends in a loss of life that everybody starts clutching their pearls and acting like this is the first we ever heard of it. And so absolutely, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be a penalty commensurate with policy violations and or law when it occurs.
And Cornell, I want to ask you about this case out of Columbus, Ohio. It's different, but it's another instance of a police officer using lethal force against a black individual. Very, very different circumstances. I want to underline that. Police in Columbus say that officers were called to the scene of a fight and possible stabbing. I want to play down the slowed down body camera footage because it appears to show 16-year-old Micaiah Bryant. She was holding a knife and appeared to be lunging at another female, possibly another female teen, before she was shot. Now, the Floyd family attorney, Ben Crump, tweeted, as we breathed a collective sigh of relief today, a community in Columbus felt the sting of another police shooting. I wonder what your thoughts are. We're obviously just learning, and we continue to learn more about this case. But Cornell, what do you think?
Well, where we have police homicide as a leading cause of death among men, black people being disproportionately killed at the hands of the police, it is not wrong. It is in fact right for people to ask, is it appropriate? Was it the right thing? Was it a necessary thing for a police officer within minutes pulling out his gun and firing 4 bullets into a teenager's body? It is a right thing to ask that question. So in other words, not everything that you're permitted to do is something that you should in fact do. And the question we have to ask ourselves, what if it were your daughter? What if it were your child? What if it were a member of your family, your neighbor, in essentially a teenage fight, a schoolyard fight? Certainly the facts will emerge, but we are right to ask, why can't we put the accent on preserving life, children's lives, as opposed to simply assuming the best we can do is simply kill another child?
So to be continued on that, obviously, because there's still so much about this case that we're just learning. But obviously, questions have every right to be asked. Cornell William Brooks, Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, thanks to both of you for being here today.